revise the basics related to graph theory, which we have seen in initial classes. Some 3-4 classes we have spent for this. So I don't want to spend much time. In 15 minutes like that, I will try to revise. Basically, what is meant by graph? Graph consists of vertices and edges, right? Vertices and edges. We will be representing dots. Vertices as dots and edges as arcs. Like edges as lines from one vertex to another vertex. Like this, we can have a graph. So there exist several applications for graphs. We have seen some of those in initial classes. Can anyone able to tell one application of graph where we can use? Yes. Where we can use graphs, in what sort of applications? Pathfinding, very good. Yeah, pathfinding, like from source to destination we have to find the path. Like from Hyderabad to let us say some remote place in India, we have to find the path. Then we can model entire thing as a graph. Like several places we can consider as vertices, and from one place to another place, if there is a road, if there is a what you call road connectivity, or what you call train connectivity, then we will be forming an edge. Like that we can frame a graph. Okay, then we have to find a path from source to destination. Okay, by going to several places we can reach the destination. Like this we can perform, we can use this particular graph for these kind of purposes. Next, you consider, suppose you wanted to send a message. Okay, you wanted to send a message from your mobile to your friend mobile. Okay, then there can be several intermediate stations, like from your mobile to nearest server, or we can say some cell tower. Then from there to another cell tower, like that it will go keep, finally it will reach us to the server where your friend is connected right now. Then from that your friend will receive the message. Okay, so how these will be selected? Like immediately to which tower or which node you have to send, that is trivial. Okay, to which network you have connected, immediately from that you have to send. Okay, to that only you have to send. But afterwards there will be several possibilities. Why? Because that particular node is connected to several other nodes. Okay, so now out of these, which one to be chosen, that has to be decided based upon some criteria. For this also we can make use of graphs. This entire thing we can consider as graph. From one node to another node we have to move. Okay, we have to reach the another node from one node within less time, or within less distance. Like that we can have several applications for graphs. And here graph we will denote like this. Notationally, g is equal to v comma e is the graph representation, where capital V represents set of vertices, capital E represents set of edges. Okay, V represents set of vertices, E represents set of edges, and V can be represented as V of G, specifically saying that it is the vertex set of graph G. Similarly, E of G in the sense edge set of graph G. Okay, when we will use this kind of notation in general is, suppose we are having two graphs, let us say g1 and g2. G1 is equal to v comma e and g2 is equal to v comma e. If you say like that, then how we can differentiate the vertex set of g1 and g2? In that case you can use this notation, v of g1, that means vertex set of graph g1. Next, e of g1, vertex set of graph edge set of graph g1. like that we can differentiate. For that purpose we can use. Otherwise you can define, you can alter this as well. G1 is equal to v1 comma e1, g2 is equal to v2 comma e2. Like that you can differentiate one graph from another graph in notations. Okay. Next, there exist two types of edges: directed edge, undirected edge. For directed edge we will be having a direction, like from one vertex to another vertex means we are having an edge from one vertex to another vertex. We can go from u to v, but not v to u. There is no edge from v to u in this particular example. In order to represent v to u as well, then we need to have one more edge with the direction from v to u. Then only we can say u to v there is an edge, and v to u there is an edge. Coming to undirected edge, we will not be having any direction to it. So what we can consider, we will not be having any direction. So u to v, if there is an edge between u and v, what does it mean? U to v there is an edge, and v to u is also there is an edge. Like that in both the directions we can consider undirected edge. Okay. If you consider um, road connectivity from u to v, okay, same road we can use to go from u to v as well as v to u, then we can consider this as undirected. Suppose if you are having um, one way from u to v, then we will be having like this. This is u, this is v, then u to v there is one way, so we will denote by using directed edge. That's it. If you are having the road, same road utilized for both the directions, then we can have undirected edge. Okay, this is just to understand. I have given one example, that's it. So directed edge, undirected edge, and according to this we can classify graphs also: directed graphs, undirected graphs. Directed graphs can be called as, yeah, can anyone able to tell? Directed graphs can be called as, in short, diagraphs. Yeah. In previous classes we have seen diagraphs. So in diagrams or directed graphs, we will be having a direction for every edge. Then such kind of graphs we can say it as directed graphs or diagraphs. Yeah. Next, if for every edge, if there is no direction, then we can consider it as undirected graph. And can we have combination? Yes, we can have some of the edges as directed, some of the edges as undirected. Then in that sense, if you need to classify that one as either directed graph or undirected graph, which one will be suitable? Combination we have. Then we have to classify whether it is a directed or undirected graph. Let us say we are having three vertices. Yeah, directed graph, we can classify it as directed graph. Why? Because undirected edge also we can what you call, change it as directed by putting two edges in both the directions. Like this we can convert combination also as directed graph. Okay. Next, we have seen loop. Loop is nothing but a directed edge from one vertex to itself, that is called loop or self loop we can consider. And multiple edges we have seen, that is from one vertex to another vertex we can have more than one edge. Like this, from one vertex to another vertex we can have multiple edges. Like this, from one place to another place we can have several routes. We can consider direct routes. There are no intermediate routes, that you keep in mind. Then we can consider these two as multiple edges. Okay, some from one source to one destination. Yeah. Next, simple graph in the sense we will not be having any self loops and we will not be having any multiple edges. Such kind of graph we call it as simple graph. Okay, in general it is undirected graph, and we will not be having any multiple edges. Okay, u to v there should exist only one edge. Next, similarly self loops also not allowed. Such kind of graph we call it as simple graph. Next, multi-graph in the sense multiple edges are allowed. Like e1 and e2 are the two edges from u in between vertices u and v. So such kind of graph we consider as multi-graph. If you don't have these multiple edges, then it can be considered as simple graph. Next, pseudograph. I think this we have seen or not. I didn't remember. Did I explain what is meant by pseudograph? Yes or no? Okay. So what is pseudograph? It consists of multiple edges, but loops also allowed. Like in addition to this multi-graph, in pseudograph, loops also allowed. Self loops also allowed. That's it. If you don't have these loops and multiple edges, then it is considered to be simple graph. Next, coming to the classification of a directed graph, of course, we have seen this. For every edge, if you have a direction, then it is directed graph. Next, directed multigraph, in the sense we are having direction for every edge and we are having multiple edges as well. That is, from u to v there exist multiple edges, even and e2 are multiple edges, and here self loops also allowed. Then we can consider it as directed multigraph. It is slight different from earlier multigraph which we have considered. In earlier multigraph, we don't have self loops, but in a directed multigraph we will be having self loops as well, in addition to multiple edges, multiple directed edges. Okay. Next, this is the table, consolidated table, that you can go through. Like undirected graphs, we are having these. Next, directed graphs, these two classification, whether multiple edges allowed or not, loops allowed or not, that is depicted here. Okay. Next, coming to the terminology, u and v we set to be adjacent if there is an edge between u and v. Whether v and k are adjacent or not in this, v and k are adjacent or not? V and k, this is one vertex and k is another vertex. These two are not adjacent. Similarly, v and w are also not adjacent vertices, but u and w are adjacent vertices. And with respect to with respect to edge, we can say edge is incident on two vertices u and v. Suppose this is an edge, okay, and what's the relationship between this edge e and u and v is e is incident on two vertices u and v. Okay, like that we will say. And we can say u and v as endpoints as well, or terminals as well. Next, coming to the degree of a vertex, how many number of edges incident on one particular vertex, that we call it as degree of that vertex. Now what's the degree of k? Are there any edges? 0. Next, are there what is the degree of u?
2.
2. What's the degree of w?
1.
1. Like that, v degree is also 1. Next, whenever we have degree as 0, that kind of vertex we call it as isolated vertex, because it is not connected with any other vertices, so it is isolated vertex. Next, if a vertex is having the degree as 1, then we can say it as pendant vertex. Isolated vertex means degree 0, pendant vertex means degree 1. Next, with respect to directed graphs, we will be having two terms like in degree, out degree. So how many vertices, what you call edges we are having with that particular vertex as a terminal vertex. There exists a notion called terminal vertex and initial vertex in the case of directed edge. Initial vertex means u to v, there is an edge, means u is initial vertex, v is terminal vertex. Now in degree is nothing but number of vertices which we are having as terminal. Initial or terminal? Initial or terminal? In degree. Terminal, right?
Yes, sir.
Which are coming. So what's the in degree of v?
1, sir.
What's the in degree of w?
1, sir. 2, sir.
2. Yeah. In degree of u is
0.
0. Like that, and we will denote it as a degree. In superscript we will be having minus. Here we will be having minus. Similarly, plus means out degree, and that will be depicted as the superscript. Yeah. So this is about in degree and out degree. Next, we have seen handshaking theorem. It is nothing but summation of degrees of all the vertices. Just to consider here any other graph. Okay. How many? What is the degree of this vertex U? 2.
2,
Next, what is the degree of V?
2,
What's the degree of W?
2,
2. Summation of these all will be
6,
6. And how many edges we have in this total?
3, sir.
3. So 2 times the number of edges is nothing but summation of degrees of all the vertices. Okay, degrees of all the vertices, 2 times the number of edges. If you consider the simple graph, we are having A and B as two vertices. Now how many edges we have?
1, sir.
1. What's the degree of A?
1,
What's the degree of B?
1,
1. Now this total is, that is summation of degrees of all the vertices is 2. Now let us check 2 times the number of edges. How many edges we have? Only one edge.
1,
So
1.
2 times 1, which is nothing but 2, which is equivalent to the number of what you call summation of degrees of all the vertices. Okay, even you can add one more vertex and one more edge. Okay, now what's the degree of A?
2,
2.
sir.
What's the degree of C?
1,
1. Next, what's the degree of B? What's the degree of B? Hmm. Degree of B is 1. So total will be 4. And how many edges we have? How many edges? 2 edges we have. So 2 times the number of edges. 2 multiplied by 2, which is equivalent to the summation of degrees of all the vertices. Okay. This is called handshaking theorem. So 2 into E is nothing but the number of edges. So 2 into E is nothing but summation of degree of all the vertices. Next, how we can prove this one is like every edge contains two vertices. So every edge will be counted twice. Yes or no? Why? Because this particular edge will be included in the degree of this vertex, and same edge will be counted here also in the degree of this vertex. So every edge will be counted twice. That's why it will be, the summation will be 2 times the number of edges. Clear? Yes. Yes. Any doubt, ma? So far, yeah. Next, second theorem that we have proved is every graph will be having even number of odd degree vertices. Okay, whatever the graph you consider, we will be having even number of odd degree vertices. We cannot draw a graph with odd number of odd degree vertices. Why? Because according to earlier theorem, handshaking theorem, 2 multiplied by E is nothing but summation of all the degrees. Okay, this is what we have seen. So 2 multiplied by number of edges, in the sense it is even number, right? It is even number, and summation of this degrees will be even definitely. So 2 into E, summation of this degree is even. Why? Because even number formula is a 2n, right? 2n is the form of even number. Now let us consider V1 is the number of V1 is the set of all the even degree vertices, and V2 is the set of all odd degree vertices. Okay, now summation of all the degrees of all the vertices is nothing but summation of even degree vertices and summation of all odd degree vertices. Okay, now if you consider this one, this will be positive always. Why? Because we are adding all not positive, even number. Why? Because we are adding all the even numbers, so we will be getting even number only as the result. Next, consider here V2, as this particular LHS is even and this term is also even, then this should be even. Otherwise, that sum will become odd. So by arguing like that, we can say the number of vertices with odd degree is also even. Clear? Yes. We have discussed in the initial classes in detail. You can go through the videos if you have any doubt. Yeah. Next, this also we have seen, like some of the odd degree, what you call in degree of all the vertices, and out degree of all the vertices will be equal, and it will be equivalent to the number of edges in the graph. Next, we have considered some graph classes like a complete graph. What is meant by complete graph? In a graph, for every pair of vertices, if you have an edge, then we can say it as complete graph. Like k3, it will be denoted as kn actually. Three vertices in k3, in the sense three vertices will be having, for every pair of vertices will be having an edge. Like you consider k4, k4 in the sense will be having four vertices, 1 2 3 4. Okay, this is the fourth vertex. Then what edges we have to add? This should be adjacent to all the other three vertices. Why? Because for every pair of vertices we should have an edge. Now how many edges we will be having in k5? In k5, how many edges? So 5 vertices we will be having for every pair of vertices. Yeah, we will be having an edge. So it will be 5 into 5 minus 1. So how many edges? 20. Yeah, 20 edges we will be having for k5. Similarly, you apply for k4, 4 into 4 minus 3. So it will be how many edges? Is it correct? 4 n into n minus 1 by 2, ma. Hussein. Yeah, n into n minus 1 by 2. Why? Because every time we have to what you call, it is simple what you call counting. N we have, okay, it is like nc2, nc2, every time 2 2 we have to select, isn't it? N into nc2 is nothing but n into n minus 1 by 2. Okay, those many number of edges will be having in a complete graph with n vertices. Okay, next for k6, how many edges will be having for k6? 15. Okay, um, how many vertices we will be having in k6? Of course, 6. Yeah. Next, cycle graph. Cycle graph is nothing but if one vertex is adjacent to another, or we can say like we can give you an ordering such that ordering v1, v2, v3, so on vn, such that v1 is adjacent to v2, v2 is adjacent to v3, so on vn minus 1 is adjacent to vn. Then we can say such kind of graph as cycle graph. We should not have any other edges other than this. Got it? That is cycle graph. Suppose you consider c5. How many vertices we will be having in c5? In c5, how many vertices? 5 vertices. How many edges? How many edges? 5. Yeah. Why? Because from v1 to v2, v2 to v3, like this we will be having. After reaching vn, from vn to v1 also we will be having an edge. So up to vn itself we will be having n minus 1, then plus 1. So total n edges we will be having in the graph cn. Okay, this is the notation. C, capital C, small n is used to denote, or you can consider here also cn is used to denote cycle graph. And similar to this, we can consider pn. What does it mean? Pn is nothing but path graph. Path graph is nothing but this particular cycle will not form. That means this last edge we will not be having in the path graph. So there should exist an ordering v1, v2, v3, so on vn, such that v1 is adjacent to v2, v2 is adjacent to v3, so on vn minus 1 is adjacent to vn. That's it. Okay, but there is no cycle exist. So now you consider P5. How many vertices will be having in P5? 5. Edges are 4. Yeah, 5 vertices, 1 2 3 4 5, and number of edges are 1 2 3 4. Okay, this is P5, path graph with 5 vertices. Like that we can denote Pn as path graph with n vertices. Next, wheel graph is an extension to cycle graph, where we will be having an additional vertex which is adjacent to all the vertices of the cycle. Now you consider outer thing. This is a cycle graph except this one. Okay, if you don't consider this, it will form a cycle. But if we have additional vertex which is adjacent to all the vertices of the cycle, then we can say it as wheel graph. Now you say W5, how many vertices will be having? W5 in the sense outer cycle will be having 5 vertices. So first we have to draw C5, isn't it? 1 2 3 4 5. So this is C5. Then we need to have one more vertex which is adjacent to all these vertices of the cycle. Then we can consider it as W5, that is wheel graph with 5 vertices. Okay, now Wn, how many vertices will be having? Wn, total number of vertices in n.
Vertices.
How many vertices? No. Wn.
N
N plus
plus 1.
1. Yeah. How many edges? How many edges will be having? Just to consider outer cycle. Outer cycle will be having n edges. Why? Because a Cn. Okay. Next we will be having middle vertex or some vertex. This can be outside also, which is adjacent to all these. So it will be adjacent to all the n vertices. So n plus n, it will be 2n number of edges. Okay, wheel graph will contain n plus 1 vertices, 2n number of edges. Okay. Next, we have seen what is meant by bipartite graph. That means if a vertex set can be divided into two disjoint independent sets. Okay, disjoint independent sets, then we can consider it as bipartite graph. Okay, let us consider a simple thing like okay, students are there. Okay, and courses are there. In a graph we are having students and courses. So there can be multiple students, multiple courses. Okay, multiple students, multiple courses, like S1 S2 S3, these are students. Next, C1 C2 C3 so on are courses. Now how what's the relationship between student and course? Student can be enrolled in course. Okay, that is some sort of a relationship between student and course. Now if you model this one as the graph, how we can model? Every student we can consider as a vertex. Okay, how many students? Let us consider 3 students. So 3 vertices we will be having for S. Next, how many courses we have? Let us consider some 4 courses we have. C1, C2, C3, C4. 4 courses we have. If one student S1 enrolled in 2 courses, C1 and C3, then we will be having an edge between S1 and corresponding courses. Next, S2 has enrolled in only 1 course and S3 has enrolled in 3 courses, namely C2, C3, C4. Then this particular graph, if you consider, we are having 2 partitions, 2 disjoint subsets. Can we have any relation between one course to another course in this particular context? One course enrolled in another course. Is it correct? No, right? So we will not be having any edge between courses, any edge among any courses. But we will be having an edge between student and the course. Similarly, enrolled is the relationship. Student, suppose S2 enrolled in S1. It is not correct, right? So we will not be having any edge between S1 and S2, or S2 and S3, or S1 and S3, like that. So we will not be having any edges among students, any edges among courses as well. So we can consider this graph as bipartite graph. Why? Because all the vertex set, okay, entire vertex set is divided into two partitions. One is students, another one is courses, and two are independent. Why? Because we don't have any edges among these vertices, and here also we don't have any edges. That's why we can consider it as bipartite graph. Is it clear? Yes. Yes, any doubt ma in this bipartite graph? Vertex set will be divided into two independent sets. That's it. What is meant by independent set? We will not be having any edges among those vertices. Yeah. Next, complete bipartite graph in the sense, for every pair of vertices, if we have an edge, okay, such that one end vertex or one terminal is in one parted set, another terminal is in another parted set. Or in other words, two bipartite graph in the sense, we will be having two parted set. Every vertex is adjacent to every vertex in other parted set. Then we can say such kind of bipartite graph as complete bipartite graph. Okay, you consider the previous example, student courses information. Student has enrolled in so and so course. Every student has enrolled in every course. Then it will become complete bipartite graph. Okay. Now I will ask one question, can we consider every complete bipartite graph as bipartite graph? Yes. Vice versa. Vice versa, like every bipartite graph is a complete bipartite graph. No, that is not true. Yeah. Next, we have seen subgraph. What is meant by subgraph? We will be having subset of vertices, subset of edges from the original graph. Now you consider G as UW V. Okay, these are the vertices we have, and H1 you consider. What are the vertices we have? UVW, which is a subset of this G, and edges also part of this G. So we can consider H1 as the subgraph of G. Similarly, H2, U and V are the vertex set. So it is a subset of vertex set of G, and edge set contains edge set is also subset of edge set of G. So we can consider H2 is also a subset of G. Now the question is whether H2 is subset of H1. H2 is subset of H1 or not? Subgraph of H1, sorry. Subgraph of H1. Yes. Why? Because U and V are present in this H1 as well, and U to V there is an edge. Here also we have an edge. So H2 is subgraph of H1. Next, I will give one more graph. U, V, W. Now this is the graph. Can we consider this graph as the subgraph of H1? Can we consider this graph as subgraph of H1? Yes or no? Yes. Why? Because the vertex set is UVW, which is a subset of this vertex set. Next, edge set is empty. Anyway, edge set here is U comma V and V comma W. Empty set is subset of any set. So we can consider edge set is also subset of this edge set. So we can consider this particular graph as subgraph of this H1. Okay. Next, yeah, these are other examples. G1, G2, and from these two we can get G by combining the vertices and edges, like W and U we are having, W and V we are having. So 3 vertices we will be having in overall. Next, whatever the edges we have, those we will place so that we will get this graph G. Okay, that is V is equal to V1 union V2 and E is equal to E1 union E2. Next, how we can represent the graph is we can represent the graphs by using several representations like matrix representation and list representation. Okay, in the matrix we are having two forms: incidence matrix, adjacence matrix. Incidence matrix is nothing but like this. You consider here we are having three vertices, so three rows, what you call number of edges are three, so three columns we have got. Suppose four edges are there, means four columns we will be having. So the number of rows will be number of vertices, number of columns will be number of edges. Okay, and every vertex will be incident on two vertices, so corresponding entries will be filled with 1. So E1 is incident on two vertices U and V, so corresponding entries filled with 1, remaining will be 0. So suppose if you are having 5 vertices, let us say, okay, U, V, W, X, Y as well, and we are having an edge like this. Let us say this is E4, this is E5. Okay, let us consider Z as well, like this. Now how many how many rows we will be having? How many rows in the incidence matrix? How many rows? 5 or 6? 6 vertices we are having, so 6 rows we will be having. Next, how many what you call columns? How many columns? It depends on number of edges. So number of edges are 5, so 5 columns we will be having. So each labeled with E1, E2, E3, so on, E5. Next, E1 is incident on U and V, so corresponding entries will be filled with 1, remaining will be 0. So U, V, W, X, Y, Z. So remaining all will be filled with 0. Here also 0, here also 0. Next, E2 is incident on which vertices? U and W. So corresponding entries will be filled with 1, remaining will be filled with 0. Next, consider E4. What will be the entry of E4? Now you tell. E4. E4 entry will be, yeah, E4 is incident on two vertices X and Y. So X and Y values will be 1, remaining will be filled with 0, including U, V, W. Like this, we will form a matrix representation. This particular matrix is based on incidence of the vertices with respect to the edges. So we can consider this as the incidence matrix. Okay, this we call it as incidence matrix. Similarly, based upon adjacency, if you form a matrix, like we consider this particular graph, here we are having 3 vertices, so 3 rows and 3 columns. Irrespective of the number of edges, we will be having 3 rows and 3 columns. Then if corresponding V and V is adjacent to each other, then corresponding entry will fill with 1, otherwise we will fill with 0. Now you consider V and U, we are having an edge, so we will have 1. V and W are adjacent, so we will have 1, otherwise 0. Like this, if U is adjacent to 3 vertices, how many ones we will be having in that particular row? Those many ones. Like U degree is 3. In this example, U degree is 3. So how many ones we will be having in that particular row? 3. Okay, even same thing will be true for columns as well. Why? Because here we are considering undirected graph. So U to V, if there is an edge, then V to U also we will consider there is an edge. That's why a column and row, this is a symmetric matrix. Adjacency matrix is symmetric matrix when we consider undirected graph. For directed graph, we will be having directions. So corresponding entries only will be filled with 1, remaining all will be filled with 0. Like U to W, there is a directed edge, but W to U, we don't have directed edge. So we will not be having 1 corresponding to W row and U column. Okay. Okay, here we'll be having 0 only. Why? Because there is no edge from W to U. If you have an edge from W to U, we'll be having 1. Okay, like that we can represent graph using adjacency matrix. Next, adjacency list representation. Here we will be having list for each and every vertex. How many vertices we'll be having, those many lists will be maintaining. And what that list will contain is whatever the adjacent vertices we have, those all will be part of that list. So U is adjacent to V and W. So U is pointing to a list where we will be having V, and V next is W. Like this we will be having a list. Similarly, V will contain a list where W next is U. Like this we will be having a list. Here also a list, it will point to the list. This is called adjacency list. Okay, next yeah, we have seen what is meant by path, you know already. I will show you. Yeah, this also we have seen, right? This strongly connected, weakly connected components also we have seen. Yeah, anyway, that is not of our interest now. Let us consider this particular problem. Actually, there is one scientist who lived in one place called Königsberg. Okay, in Germany. He was living in this particular banks. Okay, this is a river kind of thing. Okay, now there are several bridges for their convenience they have constructed. Okay, from this bank to this bank there is one bridge, from this to this one bridge, from this to this one bridge. Like this several bridges they have constructed for their convenience. How many bridges we have in this picture, you tell? How many bridges are there? Yeah, 7 bridges we have. Yeah, now 7 bridges we have. And if you consider this entire thing as one bank, okay, one bank, this is another bank, like this okay, this entire thing can be considered as one bank itself. Next, this one has one bank. Next, this has one bank, this has one bank, like this. Can we model this as a graph? Can we model this as a graph? Yes or no? Yeah, how many vertices we can consider? How many vertices? This will be one vertex, right? This will be another vertex, this will be another vertex. 3, 4. Yes or no? 4. Yeah, like that we can consider vertices and edges. Edges in the sense, if we have connectivity, like this you consider as A, vertex A, this is B, this is C, this is D. Okay, A, B, C, D. Now A to B there is a bridge, so we will connect A to B, we will have an edge. Next, from B we are having a connectivity to D. Next, from A to C we have, from C to D we have. Next, from B to C we have. Okay, as of now, as of our understanding, this is the graph that we can obtain. Yes or no? Now of course 2 bridges if you have, then you can consider what you can consider is A to C, there can be multiple edges. Okay, for our understanding, as of now, that we no need to bother because it is undirected graph only. Okay, now the question is, whatever the graph we have modeled like this only we have got, right? A, B, C, D. Now we have to start from one vertex. Okay, start from one place. We have to start from one place, and we have to visit all the places. Or I will do one thing, just yeah, let us consider we will start from one place like this. Okay, we'll start from one place, and we have to travel through all the bridges. we have to travel through all the bridges and come back to the same point. Come back to the same point. This is what the requirement. And there is a restriction that this is the objective. Actually, visiting all the bridges is the objective. By satisfying the property, that property what you call condition is, we have to visit only once. We have to visit each bridge only once, but all bridges we have to visit. This is what the problem. Can you able to give the solution? Let us consider the bridge names as 1 2 3. Let us say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. You can go to the same place, but you should not travel through same bridge. Yeah, 1 2. First, which bridge that you tell? 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. These are the bridge numbers. So you can start from any bridge. You can start from 5, you can start from 2 or 7, anything. But you have to complete all the bridges exactly once. Okay, this is the question, right? I hope you understand what's the question. I will give one more intuition to this. With that, I'll stop. Like we are having, yeah. Suppose you are a builder. Builder in the sense you will construct some houses and you will sell sell those houses. Okay, like apartments kind of thing. You will construct and you will sell, or you consider villas. You will construct and you will sell. Now, if a customer comes to you, then you should cover all the roads which are present in your enclave or some in your corridor. You have to cover all the roads to show whatever the places that you have in your enclave, all those things, by covering all the roads and come back to the same point so that you can have some discussion. Yeah, this is the problem. So how we can able to solve this problem? How what are the other observations that we can make? These things we will be discussing in the next class. Okay, are you having any doubt? Yeah, any doubts, ma? Okay, then you can enter your roll number and can leave. Thank you, ma. You please go through the previous class video. It is of 1 hour 15 minutes, I think. I I hope I have uploaded that. Yes or no? Anyone have seen? In LMS, I have uploaded already. Please go through that video.